had always been my favorite night of the year. Ever since I was a child, there was something comforting about it. The way darkness felt playful instead of threatening. The way fear came wrapped in laughter, costumes, and candy. On Halloween, everyone pretended to be scared, and that somehow made real fear feel impossible. Blackwood Lane was always the best place for it. Every October 31st, the street transformed. Orange lights wrapped around trees like glowing veins. Plastic skeletons dangled from mailboxes, swaying gently in the wind. Jack-o'-lanterns lined the sidewalks, their carved faces flickering like they were whispering secrets to each other. Children ran from house to house, costumes flapping, buckets clattering, voices high with excitement. Parents followed behind, smiling, pretending not to be tired. It felt alive, safe. I had moved into the house on Blackwood Lane only 3 months earlier. It was old, built sometime in the 1950s, but solid. The kind of house that creaked inside but never felt like it would collapse. 2 stories, white paint faded to a tired yellow, and a wide front porch that made soft, complaining sounds every time you stepped on it. The first time I saw it, I felt something I couldn't explain. Not fear, more like familiarity, like the house recognized me. The real estate agent noticed my hesitation and smiled. "This house has character," she said lightly, handing me the keys. I laughed and nodded. She didn't say anything else. She didn't mention the past. That Halloween night, I turned on the porch light just before sunset. I placed a large bowl of candy beside the door and waited. The first knock came early, just as the sky was turning purple. A small vampire, a princess, a superhero with a mask too big for his face. "Trick or treat! Thank you! Happy Halloween!" The words repeated again and again, comforting in their sameness. I smiled until my cheeks hurt. Hours passed like that. By 9 p.m., the crowd had thinned. By 9:30, only a few kids remained. Porch lights up and down the street began switching off. The wind grew colder, sharper, pushing dry leaves across the asphalt in scraping circles. I checked my phone, then glanced at the clock on the wall. 9:47 p.m. That was when I heard it. Not the doorbell. A knock. Slow. Heavy. Deliberate. It wasn't playful like a child's knock. It wasn't rushed or uneven. It sounded like someone pressing their hand flat against the door and knocking with purpose. I frowned. Most kids rang the bell. I picked up the candy bowl and stepped closer, then stopped myself. Something about the sound made my skin prickle. I leaned toward the peephole instead. A child stood on my porch. He was small, maybe 8 or 9 years old. He wore a loose black costume that swallowed his frame, the fabric hanging strangely stiff, as if it had never been worn before. In his left hand, he held an orange pumpkin bucket. His mask was white, perfectly smooth, no eye holes, no mouth, just a blank face. I hesitated, then laughed softly to myself. Halloween costumes were getting more creative every year. "Nice costume," I said through the door. The child didn't respond. He didn't shift his weight or move his hands. He didn't even seem to breathe. Then very slowly, his head tilted to one side. "Trick or treat," he said. His voice made my stomach tighten. It was too deep, too steady. It didn't rise or fall the way a child's voice should. It sounded practiced, controlled. "Where are your parents?" I asked. Silence. The porch light flickered once. Then the knock came again. Harder, louder. I don't know why I unlocked the door. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was embarrassment at being scared of a child. Maybe it was the way Halloween had always taught me that fear wasn't real. I opened the door just an inch. Cold air rushed inside, carrying with it a smell that didn't belong. Smoke, burned wood, ash. The child lifted his bucket. Treat. I turned away to grab the candy, my hands shaking slightly. It couldn't have been more than a second. When I looked back, the porch was empty. My heart skipped. Then I realized why. The child was standing inside my house. No footsteps, no sound. Just suddenly there, in my hallway, close enough that I could see the texture of his skin. Because it wasn't a mask. The white surface was skin, burned, melted, smooth in some places, cracked in others. Where eyes should have been, there was nothing. No holes, no shadows, just blank flesh. The lights flickered violently. Trick, the thing said. Every light in the house went out. I ran. I don't remember thinking. My body moved on instinct, legs carrying me down the hallway as darkness swallowed everything. I slammed into the bathroom, locked the door, and slid down against it, gasping for breath. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. No signal. I tried again. Nothing. From the hallway came footsteps. Slow, dragging, wet. Something brushed against the bathroom door. I thought leaving the house would end everything. For a long time, I needed to believe that. I packed my things in a single afternoon, barely looking at the walls as I went. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't look back. I drove away from Blackwood Lane with my hands shaking on the steering wheel, telling myself that fear only survives when you stay close to it. The city lights swallowed the neighborhood behind me, and for the first time since Halloween night, I breathed like a normal person again. The first Halloween after I moved out, I didn't go home. I stayed with a friend across town, someone loud and careless and impossible to scare. His apartment was on the 5th floor of a building that smelled like coffee and laundry detergent. No creaking wood, no porches, no history. I told him I just hated Halloween. That night we ordered food, kept the TV on, and laughed too much at things that weren't funny. I checked my phone more than I should have, watching the time creep forward. 9:30 p.m. Nothing happened. 9:40 p.m. Still nothing. I started to relax. At 9:46 p.m., I checked the screen again. My chest tightened. At 9:47 p.m., the knock came. Not on the door, not on the walls. Inside my head. It wasn't a sound so much as a pressure, like someone pressing 2 fingers against the inside of my skull. A memory forcing itself forward. My breath caught, and the room seemed to tilt slightly, as if the world itself had taken a half step closer to me. Then my phone vibrated. I stared at it, my mouth dry. Motion detected. That didn't make sense. There was no camera here. I wasn't even home. My friend was saying something to me, but his voice sounded far away, stretched thin like it was traveling through water. I opened the notification. The video loaded slowly. It wasn't my friend's apartment. It was the house on Blackwood Lane. The porch camera showed the front door exactly as I remembered it, except darker. The white paint looked blistered now, bubbled and cracked like skin that had healed wrong after a burn. The porch light flickered weakly, buzzing with a tired, dying sound. Someone was standing at the door. Not one child. 3. They stood side by side, perfectly still. Their clothes were blackened, edges curled inward like paper touched by flame. Their faces were smooth and pale, blank in a way that hurt to look at. No eyes, no mouths, no features at all. They knocked together. Once, I dropped the phone. The screen cracked, but the video kept playing, the sound of the knock echoing faintly from the speakers. My friend finally noticed something was wrong. He asked what I was looking at, why my face had gone white. I couldn't answer. I grabbed my coat and left without explaining. For the rest of that year, I avoided Halloween completely. I traveled when I could. I turned my phone off on October 31st and locked it in drawers, bags, hotel safes. I stayed in places with no cameras, no front doors, no quiet hallways. It didn't matter. At 9:47 p.m., I always felt it. Sometimes it was a sound in the distance, like knocking echoing down a long tunnel. Sometimes it was a vibration under my skin, deep in my bones. Sometimes it was nothing more than a sudden certainty that I was being watched. Fear doesn't need permission. By the second year, I stopped sleeping in October. Nightmares waited for me whenever I closed my eyes. In the dreams, I was always back in the house. The hallway was darker than it should have been, the air thick with smoke that scratched at my throat. The walls were blackened, blistered, and warm to the touch. The floorboards pressed heat up through the soles of my feet. Somewhere upstairs, children were crying. I always knew what was coming. The fire hadn't started yet. It was waiting for someone to open a door. In the third year, something inside me changed. Fear turned into exhaustion. I was tired of running, tired of pretending the past could be buried just by distance and time. The knocks hadn't stopped. The dreams hadn't softened. Whatever was tied to me wasn't letting go, so I went back. Blackwood Lane looked smaller than I remembered, quieter. The street lights cast pale circles on the pavement, leaving long stretches of darkness between them. The house stood at the end of the street like a thought no one wanted to finish. The windows were boarded up now. The porch sagged, its railings warped and splintered. The yard was overgrown, weeds crawling up the steps like they were trying to reclaim the place. But the front door was new, bright white, clean, perfect. It didn't belong there. I stood across the street as the sun went down, my heart pounding harder with every passing minute. I watched shadows stretch across the lawn, watched the sky fade from orange to purple to black. I checked my phone. 9:46 p.m. I crossed the road. Each step felt heavier than the last, like the air itself was resisting me. 9:47 p.m. The knock came from Enrorua,